There's an Irishman. He is going to his daughter's wedding. And he's 45 minutes late. He says, oh, God, please, find me a nice parking space in front of the church so I'm not late to my own daughter's wedding. If you find me a nice parking space, I'll never touch another drop of whiskey as long as I live, and I'll come to church every Sunday. And he turns the corner, and right in front of the church, there's a beautiful parking spot. He says, never mind, God, I found one myself. Well, thanks for having me here. This is a beautiful theater.
So, Fred, first off, I just want to ask you, what inspired you to do what you do today?
I don't know when I decided I want to be an actor. I remember when I was a little kid, I loved certain movies, and I loved the Bob Hope movies, and Danny Kaye, and Abbott and Costello. And I'd love it when they'd suddenly turn to the camera and say something. Because you think you're watching a movie, and suddenly they're talking to the camera. It was something I didn't think you could do. Right. And then I said, that must be fun and must be very easy. So I said, I think I'll do that. And I always wanted to be a baseball player. And then he said I couldn't do that. And I went to New York. And I said, maybe I'll be a disc jockey. Or I didn't want to be a disc jockey until I found out they no longer can play their own records. You know, there's always a programming director. They have to play the top 30 or top 40. I thought I could pick out old records like back in the days of Elvis. But I said, maybe I'll be an actor. That'll be easy too. So I went to an acting school, and I went around to several acting schools in New York, and all of them had like scene study and this and that and sense memory. I said, I don't want that. So I finally found one called Showcase Theater. Every 10 weeks they would do a little showcase and invite people, and I said, that's what I want. You just do little one-acts or little scenes from shows, and that was a wonderful training. I don't think I learned anything from the teachers, but what you learn from is doing it and feeling, you know, you have to memorize, and you can tell the audience's response, and just from watching other people, you say, oh, they're not good, I should never do that, or they're very good, and copy that. That's a lot of the way you learn, watching either someone very good and trying to learn from, or watching someone very bad and say, ooh, that's something I might have done. I stay away from that.
That's cool. What was your first major project?
Gee. Make like film or TV?
Right, exactly.
It might have been well, I was on TV with this partner I had. We did The Tonight Show, and we did Ed Sullivan, which was really scary back then. Because you walk out, and that was live back then. And then, but the first thing I did on camera, I think it might have been Laverne and Shirley. One was shown there tonight, and it was, and I look back and I said, geez, that was very good. You realize that to learn those lines, and I had a good character. So, just slowly I started doing things. People had seen me do other things and start to get parts. But comedy is always a good shortcut. Improv, stand-up, sketch. I love sketches, yeah. My wife and I have a comedy sketch group once a week in Los Angeles, and people come in with sketches, and we just hand it out, and they get up and do them. And just a week ago, at a little club called the Improv Olympic in Hollywood, I don't know if you've heard about it, we did the show, about 45 minutes of sketches, and I hadn't done it for a while. You realize it's tough. I'm very good studying for sketches. But the other people, I said, oh God, I'm making them learn all these lines. So, but they loved it. We did it just one show, and it was really fun. Yeah. And then the improv came a little talking to the audience in between. And I just said, hey, how you doing? If something went wrong, you make a joke about it. Because the audience could tell if you're too structured, you know, if you're just doing it by okay, I rehearse this and do that. So it's really...
maybe, is it too bold to ask you to do a little impression?
An impression of who? Of Elvis?
Elvis. Can I put the pressure on you? Or
well, I think, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pass to one of my earlier numbers. Treat me like a fool, treat me mean and cruel. Where are my boys? Boys, the boys told me I was eating too much. The boys told me I was drinking too much. The boys told me I was taking too many drugs. I knew I had to do something, so I fired the boys. That's another thing I did. I once did, sometimes I did a few times, an impression of what Elvis would have been like if he'd been a stand-up comic. I gotta do that. I gotta do that sometime. You know, all the corny jokes. That was the first joke.
Speaking of stand-up.
Yes.
I noticed that you've done a stand-up set called Fred Willard, Alone at Last.
Alone
How
at-
did you prepare for that?
Well, that was like a joke. At the time, it was in, there were so many one-man shows and there still are. So I did a sketch show like I just did, but it was like a 2-hour show. I called it Fred Willard, Alone at Last, and in parentheses, with a cast of 13. So I came out and I started talking to the audience, and I said, you know, I was doing some talk about my childhood and all, and I said, when I told my friends I was going to do a one-man show, they all said the most important thing is to surround yourself with the best actors you can find. So I'd start doing a bit, and then slowly the actors would come out and it'd turn into a sketch. And I thought it was funny that at the end of the night there'd be 13 people on stage taking a bow.
Alone at
So
Last.
I don't think I could ever do a one-man show. I've seen a few, and if you don't like that one person, it's pretty tough.
So Fred, I was wondering if there are any activities or projects in the making right now that you're keeping busy with, or if you're just taking a break.
I am about to do something which I don't quite understand. It's a webisode for Wells Fargo or something, but it's by Bob Odenkirk, and I'm going to do that. I did a movie called Youth and Revolt. You probably know Michael Cera.
Right.
And do you remember the book, Youth and Revolt? It was a young people's book. It was a novel. They made a movie out of it. Michael Cera was very instrumental in getting it done. And it was supposed to be out now, but they did some reshoots, so it'll be out in October. And I also hosted the last episode of Mad TV, which should be on next month.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. And that is a wrap, Mr. Willard. My helicopter is here. All right. I'd like to
You've
fly
gotta go.
directly over the 405.
Well, Fred, we really appreciate you
Thanks
being
for having
here.
me on the show. And when you're doing your own series, this, you know, remember me?
Absolutely.
I'm going to send you a picture. And I was like,